What's up, YouTube? This is Rocky, and I'm making another video. I have posted a lot of videos just to start off my channel, just to, I guess, kind of get people caught up on who I am and why I'm starting a channel on YouTube so late in the game, or so late, you know, um, as far as everything, as far as I don't know. I'm just, I just figured that I don't really have, a style platform or any type of, fashion platform. But I think that the nature of my channel is just a reflection, a real life reflection on growth, a real life reflection on what it's like to be alive during the pandemic, a real life reflection on getting through it, and a real life reflection on me as a person, as a human being, and the tests and trials that I've gone through in my life. And like, I'm just totally shooting all this stuff on my iPhone, just basically, I don't know, I guess, what would you call them, like testimonials? I don't know. But I just figured that it was that it would be fun, to start, telling my story in one of the most unusual ways, known to anybody that's been going through a lot. Um, like I the last video that I posted was basically about the pandemic and how to get through it, and how some people are getting through it, and that it is tough and difficult to get through, because I think it's I don't know if it's unlike any other plague that the world has faced, but within the last 20 years, we as a global community has seen the rise of so many disease and viruses, which has really raised, I think it's raised some people's consciousness and some people levels of consciousness about health and well-being. But I think that it should also raise questions about our behavior and our characteristics, and and how we interact with one another. Are we truly taking the correct precautions with one another? Are we truly being sensitive to the needs of one another? Or are we just constantly taking advantage of each other and taking advantage of the situation? And and to me, that is one of the saddest reasons why that people suffer during times like this. I was kind of making light of the situation with the children of Israel, but when when um when God spoke unto them, he made provisions, and he gave them provisions. He gave them also um, guidelines and rules to follow while they were shut in. They only could eat certain breads, and they could only eat certain meats and things like that. And it was not that because that God was strict, but it was to maintain. I think, in my opinion, it was in order to maintain a healthy sense of self, maintain a sense of health while while literally death was outside the door. Only eat certain meats and burn certain candles and certain oils and things like that. And trust me, yes, throughout my house, I do have little I do have the little oil diffusers and things like that that are burning in my house. I know you guys don't believe it, but I'm gonna show you. And it's just important, that I think that you keep a spiritual connection to who you are while we're going through this situation. This is my little diffuser. I'm gonna hopefully show it to you. Yeah. I got it burning, and it's burning in my house, and it's burning good. And today, I ate some pork, some bacon, which is an all natural fat, which is, I think, one of the things that the children of Israel ate while they were going through their pandemic. I got some breaded cheese, which is also another he. And I know these things because I read, And he told them to eat fermented, fermented products, fermented milks and things like that. And see, at the time, nobody associated that with, with cheese and things like that, and nobody associated it with, with tea leaves and things like that. So, that's one of the things that's kind of kept me going during this pandemic is reading, reading spiritually relevant material like the Bible. Not just the Bible, but I do read things. I've been reading the I Ching, and man, the I Ching is one of the most frustrating books that I've ever read during this time because it truly requires you to be introspective. It truly requires you to be honest to yourself, and it requires you to be brutally honest about the mistakes that you've made and the things that are going on in your life. So basically, for me, like I said, I lost my family home, and but before that, I was homeless for 5 years. I was basically living in a shelter for women and children, and sometimes I found myself on the street, and I had my kid with me. So basically, it was a lot. It was a lot for a person to be going through. But one of the things that I think I got lucky is, I got off the streets before the pandemic hit. I was lucky enough to get involved in, you know, um, a program here in the city of Chicago that helps, pay your rent and get you housed and will help you, in servicing programs, and, it helps you get services, it helps you find employment. So there are resources out there, but I was going through a really tough time. I was grieving the loss of my mother, and basically, had a stint of insanity, because, she was one of my major support systems, and to lose her it was devastating to me. So basically, I had to adjust. I had to adjust, and I had to, take and to be pulled out of the madness. Was one of the most important things that have had ever happened to me, man, because to this day I still don't know how I'm alive, but I'm thankful that I'm alive. Um, but you learn some things while you're out there. You learn things about, who good people are. You learn things about who bad people are. Um, and you learn to survive. You learn to survive. You learn to keep moving. You learn to use your voice, and never fight because you're dealing with a situation where people really don't give a shit. Because for some people it was a lifestyle. They didn't want to seek help. They didn't want to seek refuge. They liked it out there. Living their lives by the like like this like living their lives like they were, living your life by the seat of your pants. I don't want property. I want, that's how a lot of people out there are living. And one of the unfortunate things is that a lot of those people are very talented, and it's like, a lot of them wanted to be musicians and artists and things like that, and their skills and things weren't guided because they didn't trust people, they didn't trust institutions. And for me, I was just basically hanging out with a group of people, man. And and in the grieving process, we tend to cling to whatever feels good, whatever feels like a community. And I was out there, man, and I, got in touch with a bunch of people who seemed okay. And, and I didn't see the drugs, I didn't see the violence, I didn't see how they were subjugating one another, I didn't see how they were abusing one another. It was one of those things that was hidden, I guess, to a newcomer, or some newbie that they had just found. And it was a very, very scary time, once you wake up and you realize where you are, and and you're responsible for another life, and and then you have to come to terms with, the your support system being gone. So basically, I think that I got some support, some from some very, very nice people, very generous people who really did give a shit about the human condition. You know, they saw something in me and they took a chance on me, and I'm, and I have nothing but thanks to give them. I have nothing but respect for them, and but I, and they took a chance on me, and I have, and I have to say thank you for that. But I'm, at times I'm still struggling to be happy, because losing a loved one, and not having a system of support to really keep you stable. I guess it's becoming an adult. One of the things I learned in psychology and sociology is it's funny that family is how we identify with one another, and in so many cultures, you go out as a young woman, you get married, and you create your own family. You create your with your husband, and I didn't have a husband. I had a child, and that's how those standards and how, that's how those standards have changed. But the one thing is that they're sad. I wish they had not changed, because they're good standards. They're awesome living standards. They're realistic. Being out in the street, it's not realistic. It's very dangerous. It's brutal. Um, Being a wife is realistic. Being a mom is realistic. Being somebody's, marrying, having mothers-in-law, fathers-in-law, and step-parents. Those things are realistic, and they're beautiful, and they're stabilizing, and they are, things to aspire to. Um, so I'm not knocking that. I'm knocking the fact that we don't have those aspirations today. We don't aspire to be moms or stay-at-home moms, and we don't aspire to supporting one another as a family. We everybody's aspiring to be independent. So if how will we ever, as a society, make that connection? But there's still moms and dads out there. There's still husbands and wives out there, and it's just awesome. It's an awesome thing. And and luckily for me, I got rescued before the pandemic hit, and while the air was still breathable and it was still fresh, and then the pandemic hit, and it was, and it's such a terrible situation, that something as little as the quality of air that we breathe can be affected. And that is what's most terrifying. And like I said, I just, I read I read my spiritual books, or my spiritual teachings, in order to stay grounded. Because still, you know, sometimes I have problems with being happy, and I think it's because sometimes I have problems with feeling worthy. But I'm slowly beginning to realize that I am worthy. We're all worthy in some way. You know, worthy of life, worthy of happiness, worthy of love, worthy of respect. And and I think that now more than ever, I think that I'm worthy of being healthy. Um, like I said, I was a sufferer as a child for such a long time. I was heavily dependent upon my mother because I was always at the hospital. I was always having a checkup. I was always, having breathing treatments. I was always having steroidal treatments and things like that. So I was definitely heavily dependent upon my mother in our interactions. And, as I got older, and you know how they say fake it till you make it. I was pretending to be independent, and I was pretending, to really give a shit about my circumstances. But I just really had a problem with being happy. I had a problem with finding that happiness, and as a child, I would have it when I was jumping rope, where I was hanging out with friends, But as an adult, to find that happiness in adult situations, and because another thing I would do too is I would watch a lot of television, and I would see how adults take on responsibilities, and a lot of them do seem happy, but I knew that it was a responsibility. And there was such a storm brewing inside of me, and I was so rebellious about taking on those responsibilities that, I would, well, they look angry, and they're not angry. It does not make you angry to be able to pay your rent and your bills. I mean, I think, and and basically and oh my God, I think I'm just kind of getting worked up. Being able to be independent does not make you angry. It makes you more discerning. It makes you more careful about how you spend money and how you interact with other people, and how and who you interact with. And those things are very important, as you become an adult. And like I said, I was resistant. I was resistant on becoming an adult. I was resistant on taking on responsibilities. And that was even though I had a kid, because she was small and I can pick her up and I can throw her on my back and I can take her anywhere. But then she began to grow. She began to grow, and I realized that she was beginning to notice who I was and how I behaved. And then I started to ask, little questions, started to come to me. Do I want my kid, to be out here? Do I want my kid to do I want my kid to be what I see in the mirror? And the answer was definitely not. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to take on the responsibility of becoming happy and becoming a parent, and to no longer run away from the responsibility of being a parent, of being an adult, and being happy. Um, because in our youth, we take things for granted. We take things for granted that we think that our loved ones are always going to be there. We think that they're always going to be there as a support system and to guide us and to teach us and comfort us. And 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 that's for a lot, they're lucky. But for some of us, that's not the case. You know, we all have the opportunity to become independent. We all have the opportunity to take on those responsibilities that is to becoming an adult. And um and it's how you, I guess, rise to the task or rise to the occasion would determine how you feel. I mean, I didn't rise destructively. I didn't start protesting against being a parent. I didn't start protesting against being an adult. It's just that I was in the grieving process, and in a state of disbelief that I had lost, the one person that I called friend, the one person that I entrusted with my feelings and my emotions and things like that. And so my life took a turn for the worst. And I didn't want to be anywhere. I didn't want the responsibility of anything. I was just in that much pain. And I never knew that. I wasn't prepared, to lose my mother. I wasn't prepared to lose my stepfather. I wasn't prepared to lose my loved ones. And death is always shocking in any way, in any shape, form, and fashion. It's just a shocking experience. And I went through the grieving process. And I think I went through the grieving process. And I think one of the things that we as children, we worry about our parents and their safety, even when they're not dead. Excuse me. So one of the things that I did, this year is I went to visit my mom and my dad's grave, and I saw that they were sound, and I saw that they were safe. because that's what I, and that's what I had felt, because sometimes when we lose our loved ones, we think that they're lost. I went to both their funerals, but this is how jarring the grieving process is I went to both of their funerals. I saw both of them, being laid to rest. But somehow, the connections and all of the grief kind of overwhelmed me. And, I lost it. I was like, where's mom? Where's dad? Where's Ladine? Where's Minnie? Are they safe? Are they happy? Because my parents, they're elderly. And I know that there are people in the world who are very cruel to other people. And to me, my parents were not, they weren't the warring kind of people. They weren't the fighting kind of people. They were pacifist. They grew up, my father he was ex-military. My mother, she was basically a civil servant. And they were the pillars of society. Those were the jobs that they had, that now we call them essential workers. And that was, and in that way of them servicing society, they raised me in that way. And I was always a good student, and but sometimes you run into people, they really test you. They test you, and they're sent there to test you. I wouldn't say they're sent there to test you, but there are people, places, and things in our lives that test us. I'm sorry for the shake, but they test us, and or they become testy, or they become, I don't know, they become kind of thorns in society and things like that. Because I don't want to say anything too cruel, because some people can't help who they are. Who people are is who they are. And I met people, and I considered them to be friends, and basically they weren't friends, they were opportunists. People who take opportunity, to seem like they're friends. People who take opportunities to seem like they're happy. People who take opportunities to seem like they're in love. And that's another thing that I had to figure out too, is what is authentic in life? What is a love that is authentic? What is a friendship that is authentic? And I was not having those types of relationships at all. They were not authentic. They were relationships and friendships of convenience, relationships and friendships of people who basically wanted to put on a show, or wanted to appear to be one thing and another, because when situations got stressed, and demands were made on friendships, people began to show who they really are. And they began to say things and showed me things that proved that we're not really friends, that we're not really lovers, we're not, and because of their understanding. And I understand that, and those are things that I have to accept. But those are other things that kind of hit you hard in life. And it's about becoming an adult. It's about accepting failure. It's about seeing failure. It's about, accepting when people are not who they appear to be to you. And I'm okay with that, because I know how to avoid, I know who to avoid, and I'm learning to be happy. And basically, one of the things that I did to learn to be happy is I learned how to eat right. Like I said, when I was younger, there were so many things that made me happy, and eating was one of them. I knew that, to make myself happy, I can go get a big bag of potato chips and go get me a pop, or I can run to McDonald's, or I can get me some Kentucky Fried Chicken, and I can just sit there and overeat and eat till I feel the equivalent of what it means to be happy. But as I got older and my metabolism slowed down, And I began to sit there and feel, um, to feel the fried chicken just sitting on my gut, to feel the hamburgers just sitting on my gut, and to feel, to feel all the unnecessary eating, and not just certain things, but not just certain things that I ate, but the amount. And when I was younger, you eat, you go outside, you play, you eat, you can take a walk with your friends. But now when we eat, what do? We just sit. We sit down. We sit down in front of the TV. We don't do anything. And it's like exercise becomes an extension, or, as an outside factor of who we are. Um, like for me, I could never go to a gym and just work out. If I'm working out, then I'm going, and what has helped for, and I think I'm getting sidetracked, but getting back to what's important. Like I said, I was homeless for about 5 years, and that was a rough 5 years, man. It was the worst 5 years of my life, and I recognize that. And but I also think about the people that I met, and those people were some reckless individuals, and I wish them well. Without them showing me what's truly crazy and ugly in the world, then I wouldn't have wised up. I wouldn't have made an effort to be happy. I wouldn't have taken the opportunity to be happy. And and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for everything that I've learned, everything that I've gained, and I'm more grateful for where I am, in my life. And I still have further to go, and but what I think, what I was the thought that I was trying to hit on was about, my health. you know um like I said, when I was homeless, it was pre-pandemic. It was pre pre-quarantine, pre shut in, and things like that. And it was, and this time it's really scary now. And it's kind of terrifying, to be alive right now. It's not like I'm, sad or anything about, or like I'm thinking that I don't want to live, but it's a little terrifying to be alive right now, because I mean, to oh my goodness, let me think. It's a little terrifying to be alive right now, and it is, but at the same time, I'm learning to be happy. I'm learning to find the little things that are around me to make me happy, because when you're happy, it destroys a lot of things. When you're happy, it destroys fear. When you're happy, it destroys doubt. When you're happy, it destroys negativity. When you're happy, you honestly, you think clearer. You make decisions that are rooted in reality, that are grounding. You begin to make decisions that make sense, like paying your bills and cleaning your house, and buying groceries and getting up, going to work every day. And taking care of yourself, taking care of your skin, taking care of your hair, taking care of the people around you that you love. And and that's one other thing that the pandemic has made evident to me, is to continue to love the people that I'm around, and continue to love the people that I will allow to have around me, because I could not, when I hear stories about people who are unhappy, with staying home with their family members, and being around, their loved ones, that's kind of scary to me. But I just, I'm making this video because, I'm basically learning how to be happy. I'm learning how to grow. I'm learning how to stay safe. And I want you guys to, if you're watching this, find the story about the children of Israel, because, they had plagues. They had plagues during, during their era, before the death of Christ and everything. When they were living in the days of Egypt, and the Lord was trying to free them from bondage. But read about it, and read what he tells them to eat. Unleavened bread, was bread that was basically baked, which we would call pitas today. Or what we call pita bread, I'm trying to think, because it's the bread that we wrap our gyros in. And and you had to eat, during that time, you had to eat meats that were rich in fats, because farming is different than it is. Your family could have, and we live in an urban setting. We live in a society of mass production. And so you had to eat, fatted animals and things like that, because those things really do boost your immune system, because they're filled with natural fats. They're filled with natural enzymes and natural goodness, natural fats and natural oils and minerals and things like that support your immune system in ways that you don't think. Now we have teas and coffees and things like that. But one thing I do know about the children of Israel is they didn't drink tea. They did drink fermented products, but the tea is what, the teas were special. So I mean, I drink tea, but I drink whole leaf teas. I don't drink the teas in the tea bags. I like the hibiscus. I'm just, dropping shit that I like to do, during the pandemic, that helps my immune system. Like I said, I'm just gonna reiterate, go get you a diffuser, burn you some oils and some incense. That helps, with your sensorial experience. So as you can stay motivated in, stay motivated in, I want to say, in ways that are just more in depth than you realize. The ways that your spirit connects to your body, the way that your spirit connects to your mind and your heart. Things like tea and honey. I think that they're comforting in certain ways. So I'm gonna end this video, because I don't like for my videos to be very long, because I don't want people like, oh my God, another one of those. But it takes 30 days to break a bad habit. It also takes 30 days to learn and form a new, more positive, productive behavior. Peace.